Rising up as one people with vision in our eyes. No more waiting, no more fear. We're the voices they will hear. We're standing up, we're moving fast. A brighter day is here at last. Are you ready to move this nation? We are ready to move forward. We are ready to stand proud. We are ready to fight for justice, to rise above the crowd. Let's go forward, Guyana. This is our time, our way. The dream is ours, the torch is lit. Let's lead a brand new day. Yes, we are ready. We are ready to move forward, Guyana. From
Greetings to all of you, and of course, we welcome you to this very, very critical, most vital, extremely important broadcast. Welcome to a moment where there's an update available for you and some very critical, vital information to be discussed and disseminated. As always, Ford Ghana movement is known for being pioneers, and we've said that consistently, and it's proven to be true. Um, Regardless of the weather, regardless of the nature of the sea, we are prepared to pioneer at all costs and to ensure that the rights of Guyanese, those rights are protected, they're valued, they're respected, and consistently there is evidence that this movement is very loud when it speaks to the expectation of our legal system, of our various facets and aspects of society. And today, as many of you had noticed in the media, has proven to be one that requires this conversation. I think you would by now, some of you would have expected that this would have happened at some point, because I'm joined here, as you see on the screen, by our Member of Parliament, Amanza Walton-Desir, and one who not just now, but is known throughout the nation, known across nations of the world, as an individual who's very vocal when it comes to the rights of people and that which is proper. As you join the broadcast, please indicate to us whether you're hearing us clearly, you're seeing us clearly. Well, it should be me. It should be me thus far, in reference to my voice, because we want to be very clear and to be heard as clearly as we should be on this matter. The appellate court would have handed down the ruling today, and it's very important for us to know what surrounds that. What are the possibilities? What's the experience? And I must, as always, speak to the courage, the tenacity, and the strength of that candidate from Region 9, Crystal Fisher, who was not afraid to say that she requires, as would be the right of any Guyanese, the court to explain, rule, determine, guide her feeling, her decision to be a part of Ford Ghana movement, and the experience that she would have had being a candidate in Region 9, but not having that symbol of her movement, of her party appear on the ballot. And so with that, I welcome to this broadcast our very own Amanza Walton-Desir. Welcome to this broadcast, my sister. Good to see you here.
Hello, Nigel. Wonderful to see you. Wonderful to see you. Happy to be here. Just confirm that I'm coming through clearly.
Excellently.
Awesome. Awesome. Interesting day. Interesting day. Can't say that we were surprised, but it's been an interesting day. And the Court of Appeal has handed down a summary judgment. And, we wanted to spend maybe the next hour or so just unpacking for the people of Guyana how important this case really is. And, I spoke with the attorney for the applicant, Ms. Fisher, and he indicated that he intends to take this to the CCJ. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, he believes that strongly in the merits of the case. And as an attorney at law, I too see a lot of merit in what his arguments are. And I'll tell you this, we have to contextualize this by um, understanding that this matter never mattered. This issue
Right.
never came up. It was unchallenged,
Yeah.
and in keeping with um, the evolution of any country, the growth of any country, there will be times that understandings are going to be challenged, and constitutional rights are going to be clarified, and the court has a very, very important role to play in ensuring that access is granted to any and every citizen of this nation to
Yeah.
query and to interrogate the Constitution and the constitutional rights. So I want to start off by talking about the issue of costs. And Nigel, I'm going to preface this by saying that we may have to do a part two, because
More
I
than
think
likely.
our intention ought to be that we will help the people of Ghana, those who are interested in understanding, because we have to accept that there's some who just are not interested in understanding exactly what the arguments are. But there's a large swath of our society who are very interested in this case. And so for them, I think we might have to do a two or three parts, because this thing is so simple yet so intricate, because it affects so much across our electoral system.
Yes. Yes.
And so, the implications are far reaching. And the reception that we got when you and I did that blackboard teaching on the ballot and what that means, to have people reach out and say, well, I've voted maybe 3-4
Never,
elections,
never
and
knew
I
that.
never understood that. So I think it is important, because we're here to educate and to enlighten and to empower. As a political party, we have never been interested in asking people to dumb themselves down or disregard their intellect and their reasoning in order to be able to follow us. An informed citizenry makes informed decisions, right? And so I
Yes.
think it's in
Yes.
that vein that we want to discuss this issue tonight. But I want to get your thoughts on costs first before before we go into the
I
technicalities of this.
right. But I think if we can, it may be healthy for people to have a brief recollection of what this matter is all about and
Mhm.
why we're not insane people. Because GCOM would have published in the media a graphic, and for as long as I breathe, that graphic will remain very important to my. No, I'm not legal minded. I always tell people that, but I have sense. And I remember the Guyana Elections Commission published something and said that these are the parties that have qualified for the national or general election. If you have that graphic, we can display, because this is vital to what we want to say in reference to cost and everything else. Because
Mhm.
if not, it appears as though the, the thought is, listen, somebody just got up on there and decided they're going to go to court in reference to Crystal Fisher and make an argument that really just dropped out of the sky. And that's not the case. This graphic on the screen, viewers, shows us that there were types of elections. And I remember
Mhm.
when of course, I remember Parliament Amanza have been, done this so, as usual, excellently. Um, and you saw that there's a general election. So how many parties were qualified to contest the general election, and based on what criteria? What GCOM said, that if you can field candidates in 6 out of the 10 region, you qualify to enter into the general elections. So the graphic is there as evidence. Now, Amanza, I have a difficulty when people ask me to reason beyond that which makes sense, and that's why sometimes I'm at a loss for words. I'm challenged to say things, because once it doesn't make sense to me, I really cannot speak to it. It has to be logical and rational. So if the Guyana Elections Commission published this, that these are the parties contesting, oh my goodness. It's only basic knowledge to say that if you're contesting in the general elections and you qualify for the general elections, then There should be something that tells every Guyanese that, okay, then these are the parties that are contesting. So once Crystal Fisher would have sought to have this clarified, thank you so much for that graphic. There would have been, in reference to my layman term, an act to punish this person, because I know that anyone who knows that this is a teacher who would have sought to help our children in Region 9, what's called an interior location. It is known what the salary of a teacher is. And the teacher stepped forward to ask the court to please, as a candidate, I'm in this process of these elections, and I need to the court to help me to understand why I cannot, the people in my community who may vote for me and for the movement I represent, why they're not seeing, or would they not see the Ford Ghana movement symbol on the ballot? That's a very logical question to ask, especially if there's a presidential candidate. And I remember when that young lady would have been told that question, that idea, that act of asking a court to clarify what the Constitution is saying, that was met with a bill of 2 million Ghana dollars. Now, it was appealed, and in this matter here, I would have read that $2 million, 1 million to each of the parties involved, has been awarded. Tell us please, Amanza, what message yet again is being sent to Guyanese? Because you in the system, you've been admitted to the bar, you function in this space. What does that do to a potential client of an attorney who says, listen, I have a question about the Constitution. I need to approach the court for an answer. But if I see that this right here can cost me as a let's say a gardener or a janitor in a school, this can cost me $2 million. So should I ask any question? I mean, from my layman's perspective, that's my reasoning. But from a legal mind, how does that play into this equation and factor into it?
Well, Nigel, the layman interpretation and understanding of the situation is what is most important. The law was made for man, not man for law.
Mm.
So, if it does not make sense to the ordinary normal man, then it's a problem. And what this chief, what the ruling of the court has said and has indicated is that unless you have money, you can't ask questions,
Mm. Mm.
because asking questions comes with consequences. And that is the most damaging message that any court could send, particularly for a young country such as ours. Because on what basis then is our democracy to grow? On what basis then are constitutional principles, legal principles, supposed to be clarified and established? If not for the ordinary man. In law, we have there was this case that spoke about the man on the Clapham omnibus. We here say the
Mm.
man on the Sophia minibus. If he cannot approach the courts honestly, earnestly, to determine a question that affects the fundamental rights with which that citizen is vested, without fear of consequence in terms of punitive damages, then the entire basis of our democracy is gone. Because remember, the court stands as that third pillar, that central pillar. And this is why the symbol of the court is a balance, because it is there to perform that
Right,
balance
right,
in act.
right, right.
So the center of this, and as the institution vested with making sure that the constitutional rights, the fundamental rights of citizens are preserved, or any right whatsoever conferred by any law on any citizen, that that right is preserved and honored. If you are going to say, if you come to ask me this question, then you're going to be punished with costs, wither our justice system, wither the
Oh,
administration of justice in Guyana. Where are we going? And so, it is ludicrous. And when you think about it further, it's even more ridiculous, because this is a taxpayer, the court, all of the judges, the attorney general, GCOM, they're funded by the money that we
exactly.
pay in taxes. Miss Fisher is a teacher. She pays PAYE every month. Her money, your money, my taxpayer money is what funds these institutions and organizations. And so you're telling me that I pay your salary, but I can't question you. Make that
Oh my
make sense.
Lord.
That is in
That's
essence
some
what
way to
you're
put it.
saying, right?
That's some way to put
So
it. Wow.
you are my servant. Because remember, these institutions exist to serve the people. So imagine people that I pay to serve me telling me you can't ask me nothing. Don't ask me that. I want to hear. Right? I ain't got the time for this. $2 million. So that is so ridiculous. And then when you consider that this is a state that makes 10 million US dollars per day in oil,
Per day.
asking a teacher that makes 500 US dollars per month in salary to pay $5,000 US of costs because she wants a question clarified. Well, it's 10 actually, because it's 2 million. 10,000.
This is frightening. This this
I
this
mean, I
this
am at the
this is
loss for
frightening. To
words.
even think
I
about
am at
it.
the loss for words. And you know what is even more damning is that the CCJ has already held in the Attorney General versus Christopher Jones. The CCJ already held that people, citizens who are bringing these questions and who are allowing the courts to address their minds to important questions, are doing a service to the people. And when the court imposed costs as a punitive measure, the CCJ vacated those costs. They said, listen, you pay a lawyer, you pay a lawyer. There will be no cross paying of lawyers here. What the court has said is that Ms. Fisher must pay GCOM $1 million for asking a question of GCOM. She must pay the attorney general that she pays as a taxpayer $1 million for asking him to come to court to do his job. Right? So this is where we are on the levels of ridiculousness. And a lot of attorneys have taken a resigned approach to this. A lot of political
Yes.
parties, particularly in opposition, is like, oh, what is the point? Well, listen, the courts have to be approached. The courts have to be approached, right? And if it means that bake sales, etc., have to be done to help Miss Fisher, it will be done. Because
Yeah.
how dare you say to a citizen that you cannot ask me a question? Nigel, that is the raison d'etre of the courts. That is why they are there. It doesn't matter if the question is complex. It doesn't matter if the question is simple. It does not matter if the answer seems obvious. The role of the court is to clarify, make clear, crystallize, so that we are building our country on a firm legal foundation.
And please, for the sake of those who are not in the circle, wearing the robe and the silk in some cases like Anil, when we speak to the punitive nature of this cost, clarify that for the small man, the ordinary man. Why is it considered to be punitive?
Because you are asking a person to pay the attorney general costs for the time that he had to take to come and answer a question that as it relates to the constitution. And in fact, the attorney general inserted himself into the proceedings, if you
Right.
recall,
Yes, I
right?
do.
So Anil stood in the court and he said, listen, I have to be out campaigning. I should be out campaigning. You're wasting my time. In view of that, please, Your Honor, impose costs. They must understand that they can't come. Imagine this is the Attorney General
My
vested with the
goodness.
mandate to defend and uphold the Constitution. We have a problem, Nigel. We are headed down a road in this country that unless we course correct, the effect is going to be catastrophic. It's going to be catastrophic. So instead of Crystal Fisher paying her lawyers, which is something that, lawyer and client could agree on. They say, I want to do it pro bono. That's their
Right.
business.
Right.
And
Right.
the state paying the attorney general to do what he ought to do anywhere and what the state and taxpayers pay him to do, you now want this taxpayer to put $1 million more in the state's coffer, $2 million more in the state's coffers because she dared to raise a constitutional question. That is what it means. That is what it means.
I am thinking here as you speak about whether or why I would say, why has our society become so different? Because I'm certain that in many other parts of this world, this would not have gone down like that, as you would say. Because this is beyond bullying people. This is another element we're dealing with here. And that's why I actually clarify what was meant by the punitive nature of this thing. Because a teacher, just to think about a teacher's life, what a teacher earns and why they're on the street for 70 plus 75 days or so protesting. And of course, Mark, like, where he is now. Um, but that teacher's being told, listen, man, your decision to ask a question of this court has resulted in your being potentially imprisoned. Because tell me that part of it. If Crystal cannot arrive at, Miss Fisher cannot arrive at $2 million to pay, is there not some aspect here is somebody can say, well, you're in contempt and you failed or we seize this and take that? What can happen? Just unmute for me, please.
Yes, no, absolutely. You could be held in contempt, and there are certain avenues that are explored. And of course, if the state wants to make you an example, they may pursue it. So you'll find, for example, that Anil Nandlal may want to make an example and say, have the full menu of legal action taken. I am sure that we will not allow that
Wow.
to happen.
Of course.
But it is a shame that it even has to get there, because one would think that an attorney general has an interest in having the court consider, rule, exercise its discretion to review certain things, and not just treat it as like, oh, it's a bother. Don't bother me.
Right. As though you're nuisance. Right, right,
Constitutional
right,
rights.
right, right.
You are humbug. Your constitutional rights do not really matter. Don't come and ask nothing. If you don't have $5-6 million put down there, you do not ask anything. And there's a reason why Lady Justice wears a blindfold.
Hmm.
But what this court is saying is that if you're rich and you got a stash put away, to make sure that you're able to pay costs. Now, if this is a private matter between two individuals and there's an abuse of process where litigation is being used in a manner that is meant to frustrate and to be
Right, right, right.
specious, then one could understand. But this is an interrogation of what the Constitution and the law says vis-a-vis a citizen. So it's not a private matter. This is as public a matter as it can get. And it is a matter that goes to one of the most deeply entrenched articles in our constitution. Article 59, that gives us the right to vote. That is one of the most entrenched provisions in the constitution. Can only be changed by a two-thirds majority and a referendum. So when you think about what this goes to, it is sad, it is ridiculous, it is an indictment that punitive costs are used, and particularly when there is guiding dicta, as we call it in law, from senior courts that said, listen,
Right.
don't do this. You don't do this. When people come to interrogate constitutional questions, they are doing a public service. It's not on.
And what's critical before it
Mm-hmm.
escapes my mind as you spoke? The
Mm-hmm.
Attorney General is considered a minister of government. He's a member of the cabinet. So his
Mm-hmm.
salary is 1.8, somewhere around there, million per month. Per month. It's important. I'm not saying he's going to get the money in his pocket. I'm just making a point here. A
Mm-hmm.
teacher may be earning, this city may be earning 10 times less, 10 times less. And this person who's paid by the taxpayer is telling the court that because you bothered me during my campaign and I was supposed to be out there doing certain things, you will pay
Mm-hmm.
$2 million. This has to be hammered home in reference to this cost issue. Because if it's not hammered home, then there are those in the legal field who may say, well, we didn't know and we didn't know, we didn't have a chance to really figure out. I am wondering, why are so many legal minds and luminaries not coming forward to cry aloud, even if you disagree with the position Ms. Fisher's taken to ask the court? At least be guided by that which has preceded this matter, which is what the CCJ said in reference to Christopher Jones's case. This person's asking a question that has never been asked. So in my view, this is beyond service to the nation because this has never been asked. And it's just, as you said, the matter didn't matter. So it has begun to matter now when Ms. Fisher said, no, I need to ask the court what's going on here. Because if GCOM told me, GCOM told the Forward Ghana movement, of which I'm a candidate, for which I'm a candidate, that
It
you
told the
have
people of
qualified.
Guyana.
They told the nation at large and those in the diaspora everywhere. These six parties have qualified based on what? Based on the fact they were able to field candidates in 6 out of 10 regions. That's what GCOM said. So she didn't ask a stupid question, and this is what bothers me as a Guyanese person.
And it's sometimes very amusing, Nigel, to see people make silly comments about, oh, you don't know the law and she's a liar. I think it is because I understand the law and it's because I can read that this is of concern to me. And I had hoped that more legal minds would have addressed their mind to this issue. But I think we are still grappling in our country and in our democracy um, with selective activism, where if it's not from my party or it's not a point raised by my party, if I support, I may be giving that other party props. When it is so much
Oh
bigger than
boy.
that, when it is about when it goes to the foundation of this nation. And it is important that Guyanese understand that Guyanese need to take an interest in this. Because remember, one party don't be in government all the time.
That's
The
right.
shoe will be on the other foot. And so every citizen has a benefit to be derived from making sure that the legal foundations of our country are clear and that we are preserving the democratic principles that the Constitution seeks to enshrine for our own protection. So not because you are the victor today means that you'll not be the victim tomorrow.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so I think that
What
is also important
consideration.
for people to bear in mind.
It is. And when we consider, um, it's two considerations that are on the table here. One is that there is now, in our experience, reference I'm saying a Guyanese experience, that is not a movement experience. the action of two courts, very, very senior, to punish. Because I'm just putting this for me. If I know that somebody is a teacher and the person comes before me and the judge say, pay $2 million, obviously, and I'm saying to you, listen, if you don't, just as you said, don't bother me. Because if you come in to bother me, anybody like you, this you have to deal with. And that's as raw as it gets in my head. But there's something else though, because when I read what the learned judge would have said, it was that, hey, it is forward Ghana movement's problem. They didn't feel candidates in all 10 regions, so it's their problem. So there's another message being sent to me in my little head. Um, hey, if you want to be president, you have to have money, not principles, not no, because 10 regions you better contest in them.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is a important point that, and listen, I got my stuff here. I got court cases and citations. So if you see me looking down, it's because
Do
I
it.
want to refer is because I want to refer to it. And this is what the CCJ said in in the Richardson case. If you remember, there was a case brought by Richardson some time ago to test the term limits. You remember when Jack Day was trying to get
Yes, yes, yes.
back when he was trying
I remember.
to undo that two-term limit story, and he caused an action to be brought and so on and so forth.
Yes, yes.
So Chief Justice, I think it might have been Lord Byron, said at the time that, and it's specifically referenced in this judgment. I'm sorry I can't find it, but he was talking about the fact of uh, certain amendments to who could be president, etc., etc.,
Mhm.
had to be circumscribed in a particular way because it would not be imaginable for you to say that for an attribute of the presidency or for somebody to qualify to be president, he must be seized of 10, 15, 20 million dollars. He said it couldn't be,
Hmm.
it could never be. And so it comes
Right.
back to the point that you are making, that what they are essentially saying is that unless you have the money and logistics to be able to contest in all 10 regions as a party, um, a citizen's right is therefore tied to the ability of a party to compete,
Oh my
notwithstanding that
gosh.
party meets the minimum requirements. And this is what we talk about when we say that they've deliberately mischaracterized the case.
Yeah.
This is not about Forward Guyana movement alone. This is
No.
about a voter having access to the full menu of political parties. So the deliberate misclassification of the case, Nigel, and I say it's deliberate because they want to make it seem like it is only about a political party so that they can say to their supporters, ignore this. They could say to
Yeah.
Guyanese, oh, don't worry that, ignore that. It has to do with the political party, not realizing that it is affecting every Guyanese, whether you're PPP, you support the PPP, you
Yeah.
support the APNU, you
Yeah.
support the WPA, you support the Forward Guyana movement, you support the AFC, you support the ALP, you support WIN, whoever you support, it goes directly to that. And so this whole issue about it being about Forward Guyana movement alone and whatever, whatever. Absolutely not. It has to do with the fundamental rights of citizens. And I want to, because that discussion, let's stick a pin there because that is going to take an entire hour based on some of the stuff that I read and wrote here
Right. Yeah.
after I read that judgment. But there's an important matter that we have to bring to the fore. And that is the implications of this matter for the issue of jurisdiction.
Oh yes.
Because it's interesting to me that the court would say, We do not have jurisdiction on this matter, but we will engage in an academic exercise and we will pronounce on the merits of the matter. That is very odd. It is exceedingly odd. Because if you can imagine a situation where, for example, this is made by someone acting in their capacity as chancellor. If CCJ finds a certain way and reverts this matter to the court, then let us suppose that the person currently sitting as acting chancellor goes back as chief justice. Having made such a serious pronouncement on the merits of this matter, they might probably have to recuse themselves. Because how are you hearing it?
Wow.
So, you see, Nigel, when we make decisions and we give judgments, we got to think about all of the permutations and ramifications.
So you need to translate now. Translate because this right here, this is some, no, this is, uh, like, foreign
See,
government has been selected. We've been chosen to deal with the,
so maybe this
I'm
was
going to
the
coin a word,
status quo.
right?
Upset the
Right.
whole status quo.
I was going to coin a word, it's the undealable because this is crazy. The appellate court is saying, listen, we have no jurisdiction over this. So let's chop it up. They have no jurisdiction. What does that mean? Tell me what that means. The court says we don't have jurisdiction. Then I get to the other part where they said, although we don't have jurisdiction, this is this and this is that and that is that. Then we go to the other part where they said, where you spoke to the academic. Let's just gaff. Let's just have a rum shop chat or whatever it is to just talk about how we feel about the matter. Let's speak to the jurisdiction part of it, please.
Now, what the court, and I'm paraphrasing here for simplicity because I don't want to get into
That's
it.
fine. Right.
The court is simply saying is that they don't have a jurisdiction because basically it is a matter to be determined by way of elections petition. Yes, because based on prior cases, anything that has to do with any matter arising after nominations day is an elections petition. And the Attorney General also submitted that based on a number of ordinary statutory enactments, GCOM cannot be questioned as it relates to the conduct of elections. So what they have basically said is this. After nominations day, GCOM can do whatever they want and you can't question them until elections are conducted, declared, and a result declared, and therefore you can come to an elections petition. Now, mind you, Crystal Fisher's case was filed before even one ballot was cast.
Exactly.
Right? Now, the other thing that you have to note is that let us take their argument to its logical extreme, to a logical extreme. Let us say for some reason, after nominations day, because remember, there's nominations day, then you got to go print the ballots to see who qualified for the ballot paper and all of these things. So any mischief that GCOM does between nominations day and the runoff of an election, what the court is telling you is that you can't question it. What they're saying now is that you can't question it.
Lord help us.
It therefore means, let's take, for example, win. If GCOM, given the configuration of GCOM with the 4-3 configuration, if GCOM has said, well, because of the sanctions, we're leaving win off the ballot, ain't nobody can do nothing about it. Based on what they have said.
Lord help this nation.
Because you
So the
gotta
court
go
cannot
by
intervene.
No, but I'm gonna bring a scenario that shows you how selective the court has become in its interpretation of that matter. Because you remember in 2020, there was an intervention in Holodar and all of them.
Yes.
And the court said, that it had to intervene to prevent this miscarriage of justice because Low and
I
Field was
remember.
throwing away people's votes. Do you remember
I
that?
remember. I
All
remember
right.
vividly.
Okay. Okay. So now here is a case that is brought before a single vote is cast. But the court says that we don't have jurisdiction um, to hear it. So, in essence, what it means is that if GCOM does something that affects the constitutional, the fundamental, the deeply entrenched right of a Guyanese citizen to vote, as is encapsulated in Article 59 of the Constitution, it means that there ain't nobody can do nothing about it. The damage will happen, the damage will be done, and then when it's done, a new government is installed, and elections are, then you could come for a remedy. Essentially, what that is saying, Nigel, is that your constitutional rights are on hold.
Right.
It is a
Exactly.
freeze of your constitutional rights. So GCOM could do whatever it wants. Your constitutional rights have been effectively suspended.
This
Because
is I
what would be the point of bringing the action after the
wow.
harm has been done?
I remember. I remember vividly because I was doing live broadcast and so on. Then that's when became, as you would say, more not popular in my um head, but visible
Mm-hmm.
as Guyanese because I was bothered and I said, man, listen, something is wrong. How are we just dancing around with the Constitution? I'm talking about 2020 here,
Mm-hmm.
and I vividly remember that David Granger and Barrett Jagdeo, as far as I recall, was presented to me would have been cause listen, and Roxanne, not Roxanne, Claudette. What about if you go to recount? Now, mind you, there's no election petition filed. And a suggestion would have been made. I also recall that there are times when with the Lowenfield matter, as you rightly said, they said, listen, we have to stop this because this can cause serious issues. If we do not intervene and the court does not rule and instruct, Mingos will remember to listen, you had better go back there and do so. How are we so selective in the legal system in this country now? Just on for me, please.
I think
Wait,
the attitude we the people have to answer for that because we the people allow it, Um
wait.
we have to shoulder some blame for it. This is the selective outrage. It's the convenient outrage. Um, it, it's mind-boggling to me. Like a number of these
I
of the
I
elements of
am
these decisions
I am troubled.
can be questioned. That has never been the intent of the framers of any one of the pieces of legislation. And if it were, then at a bare minimum, it is unconstitutional because there are definite circumstances under which rights could be suspended. And certainly, GCOM by its action cannot abridge a person's fundamental right.
So so let please permit me to go take you into the. I like when you teach. It helps me and it helps the world at large. So what the court is saying, based on
Uh-huh.
what I heard today, is like, listen, there's something called the Guyana Elections Commission,
Yes.
which is only authorized to function according to the Representation of People Act, which is of course endorsed by the Constitution. Put it simply.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
GCOM has got a guiding frame framework of laws. This is how you
mhm,
will function.
mhm,
Okay. So as the same primary school teacher, Amanza, tell me to understand this, please. So if GCOM decides that 10% into elections, and I'm using the word church, people don't like me to say, to hell with anything called ROPA, and I do what I want. So somebody goes rogue, but like say somebody went rogue, right? So somebody goes rogue in GCOM. I might just sit here to honestly believe that I'm being told that Forget about constitution, forget about ROPA. You wait until this whole process is over,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then you approach the court. Man, honestly, seriously, man,
Yes,
for
yes,
real.
yes, 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 yes. Basically, basically.
So we can't ask the court to intervene to stop GCOM from doing that, which, and that's like essentially what Crystal was doing. To say, listen, we haven't printed the ballot, we haven't gone to the poll yet. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
has cast a ballot yet. I am
Mm-hmm.
asking you as a citizen of this country to help me and my people in Region 9, Region 7, Region 8, Region 2, wherever it was. Help
Mm-hmm.
all guys to know what happens when we go to vote and we don't see the party we want to vote for. That's all this young lady was saying to the court. And now I'm hearing this.
Yes, based on Anil's submissions, it was troubling to see. The
Lord help us in this country, man.
entire thing was troubling to see, and you made the point about GCOM and ROPA, and I think what Guyanese have to understand is, in simple terms, that Article 59 of the Constitution gives Guyanese the right to vote. That right is expressly qualified by Article 159,
Correct.
which says that you got to register, you got to be adult. Obviously, there
Right.
has to be a framework within which that right is activated. And that is what Article 159 is. And then Article 160 says, okay, Parliament, you have the power to divide up this country into constituencies. Now, I made a careful note of it because when I was reviewing this thing today, so Parliament took the authorization of Article 160 and enacted ROPA, the whole legal framework, because Parliament said you could do a lot of things under 160. You could make a quota for women, you could determine
Right.
how advisor
Right.
is run, and a whole lot of other stuff. So basically, what you have is Article 59 and 159 prescribing and circumscribing this right to vote.
Okay.
Article 160 sets up the administration of voting, right? So, in essence, what 160 was saying is, Parliament, you could pass laws to say how voting works. But in
Right.
construing Article 160 in the manner that it has, and in construing
Hmm.
ROPA in the manner that it has, what the court has in essence done is made the administration of the right impose on the right itself. Does that make sense?
It does. It
So
does.
Parliament can pass laws on how voting works, but it cannot restrict the right itself except through a very high constitutional amendment process, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
Constitution never intended a citizen's right to vote nationally to hinge on a
Exactly.
party's regional participation. It
Cannot.
never intended that to be the case.
It
And
cannot.
GCOM admits in this graphic here, because GCOM itself admits that there are three different elections. There's a national or regional election, there are elections in geographic constituencies, and there are regional elections.
So why did GCOM clarify? And I've asked this a month, 1 month ago. Why did the Guyana Elections Commission take the time to first of all inform Guyanese that there are three elections? I remember when the legal advisor was essentially fired because he said, "Listen, have different ballots." And now I can understand why De Silva said that because it makes a world of sense. He said, simplify it for the Guyanese, make it easy for them. So
Mm-hmm.
when you go here, you're choosing President more or less. When you go here, you're dealing with the members of parliament, and that works for me because it makes a world of sense to me. But Jacob said, no, we're going to condense this and present it to you in a graphic that says, General elections, you qualify. The types of elections. So everybody qualify for the general. What does that mean? Does it mean that there's a general or what is called a national election, but somebody in the nation cannot choose a president? How could that make sense? Again, forgive me, but when I have to be asked, or I have to be saddled with the pain of trying to reason something that's unreasonable, I get bothered. I am thinking as a Guyanese, not a lawyer, that I believe that I have the right to choose a president. I believe so. I believe that because I don't believe that Irfan or anybody should be able to lead me if I didn't have a right to choose whether you should. That's how I feel. And I would like to think that if I examine a ballot and I notice that somebody who I want to be president is not there through a party, because you don't choose the president per se. We don't have that system. There's symbols that on a list, and you choose from this list, and the list of the president, or whatever. So the nuances, these little things here seem to be getting the water kind of muddy. But GCOM helped us to clarify it, made it very simple for us that there are types of elections. So they helped me to reason now. You have three types. And so your party that you want to represent you, they've all qualified. So you don't have a problem now. Everybody's qualified for the general elections. How do I get here now, Amanza? And then somebody's now punished. They have to pay $2 million because they said to the court, GCOM told me. Come on, man.
Yeah, and this is where we are. And this is where we are. And you know, one of the things that the Richardson case also established is that there are two different elections at the top there. There's election for the president, and they're the elections for your national representatives. Now,
Exactly.
why is this important? Because there are different levels of entrenchment as it relates to the presidency and the National Assembly. Article 9 of the Constitution says sovereignty belongs to the people who exercise it through
True.
their duly elected representatives, i.e., in the parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Article 9 enjoys the deepest level of entrenchment. That is a two-thirds majority plus a referendum. So it cannot be changed unless the people determine that it must be changed. You with me so far?
I am. I am.
So by affecting the person's right to choose who sits in the National Assembly, the courts are in effect, or GCOM has in effect affected Article 9, affected, which enjoys a deep level of entrenchment, affected Article 13, which says Guyana is an inclusionary democracy.
Right. Right. Right.
Do you see? So this has far-reaching implications here, Nigel.
Yeah. This is no ordinary matter. This is you're muted. This is no ordinary matter, you know. And I would have loved to hear the likes of the Privy Council speak to this. I would have loved to hear the maybe this case should take a global cycle. Let me hear legal minds from around the world say that this makes sense. Where Guyanese is told you can't choose the president because some political party did the field. Let this make sense to those around the world then.
But you see, look, it would have mattered if you, and this we're talking about the national vote, the vote for
Right,
the,
right, right,
it would have mattered if, for example, so in Jamaica, and Anil Nigel made a very dumb, if you ask me, analysis. You can't compare apples and oranges. In Jamaica,
right.
if they got 5,000 people in one constituency, when it comes to determining who will lead the country, there is one seat.
Yeah, Bahama, same
If
thing.
another constituency got 13,000 people, it's the same one seat.
That's the Bahamas. Yeah.
right? That is not the case here,
No.
right? Which is why for Guyana, even though we have not won a geographic constituency seat, we still are in the National Assembly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, so you're not allowed to trouble these deeply entrenched right by going through the back door. And what the courts have in essence allowed is for GCOM to, or for ROPA, through the administrative process, to determine where you can eat, where you, and I use the example about where you can eat for a reason.
Right.
let's
The
let's
menu.
use
Right.
that, let's use that menu example. So let's say that GCOM is responsible for setting up the dining area, right? The structure within which I am to go dine. I qualify to enter the structure to go dine. GCOM says to me, Amanza, you are sitting on the left hand side. Nigel, you're sitting on the right hand side. I get to the left hand side and realize that the only thing they're serving is curry duck, which I can't eat because I'm allergic. Over by Nigel got duck, it got chicken, it got all kinds of things. It got, and I got duck and veggies.
Yeah.
So, in essence, what the person whose only responsibility is to set up the administrative structure is now telling me, you got to sit down over there and you got to eat that. What is more damning is that a Bangladeshi or somebody from a Commonwealth country could come and go and sit down over so and have the full menu, and you're telling us
Oh boy.
because of where you live, you can only get these 2 choices or these 4 choices instead of all 6. Now, this is notwithstanding that you've met the minimum requirements to be there anyway. And then
Which means you've paid to
exactly,
enter.
there's a further question as to whether even the minimum requirements, given the numerical requirements, are too onerous, and therefore a qualification on this deeply entrenched right to vote in Article
Yeah. Yeah.
59.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So Nigel, this is deep. This is an important case, and this is why I'm happy to hear the lawyers say that they're going to move to the CCJ
I
to
like
have
that.
clarified, right?
I love that and it's encouraging because I would have hope that the CCJ, I think there's a new president there now, but I have hope that there would be among them individuals who can be honestly rational without being, I don't want to say the word, but just be rational and say, listen, this has to make sense because how do you blame the political party? How do you get to that stage? And then you punish the person who asked the question. So as you rightly said, there are maybe 2, 3 parts to this or 4. Um, because I want to keep us within this 1 hour framework.
That's very
And we,
important.
yes. So this can be condensed. Persons can lay in bed tonight, digest it, and probably tomorrow somebody gets up and you see 10,000 people protesting on the road. Say, listen, we're not having this because this right here is absolute madness. Don't punish us for asking you questions. It's not about supporting for Ghana movement. It is do not tell me that if I ask the court,
Yeah.
I ask the attorney general who's paid by me. If I ask you to have some matter resolved reference to my constitutional right, don't tell me punish me, then it's $5 million nonsense. Because you have a problem. I expect the PPP to be in the road protesting. So you can't punish the Guyanese for asking a question. They pay you money because there seems to be they're growing a few wings and halos now. So just 1 month has passed. So when you have to catch him within the 2 months of being nice.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
say, come
Well,
out and tell
there
Guyanese, they're
might
going to
far
punish y'all.
a different view, but that's another
Well,
story.
exactly. And we have to speak to that for sure. And we owe them
And
a visit.
I
Um,
want to end with this quote, Nigel, from this Richardson case, where the president of the court said this. And you remember I spoke about Article 9 just now.
yes,
Sovereignty belongs to the people who exercise it through their duly elected
true. Yeah.
representatives, i.e., their people in the National Assembly.
Mhm.
Right? He says this: the Constitution vests in Parliament the power of constitutional amendment. But Articles 1 and 9, and the extent to which they have been deeply embedded in the Constitution, are prophylactics against abuse of this amendment power. The Constitution is crafted in this way because these two articles express foundational values which Parliament, acting on its own, is not permitted to undermine. Indeed, what is stated in Article 9 is so intrinsic to Guyanese constitutionalism and to the well being of Guyanese people that one may wish to go so far as to suggest that, referendum or no referendum, a court may well have grave difficulty in countenancing any amendment that would egregiously subvert Articles 1 and 9. I find it inconceivable that one half of the members of the National Assembly, supported by a bare majority of the population, could be entitled to transform Guyana into, listen to this, or to set it on a road to become a nation that is, for example, oligarchic, or where insuperable obstacles are placed on the exercise by the people of their sovereignty. The court here has placed an obstacle in the way of Guyanese exercising their sovereignty. A key element of the exercise of the
Yes.
sovereignty that Article 9 vests me is my right to approach the court to ask for the interpretation of these matters. If you go to Article
Yes.
39 of the Constitution, it says that when interpreting the Constitution, the courts, the parliament, the government, everybody is required to adopt a certain mindset and outlook. And so we've just
Hmm.
scratched the surface of a lot of what we need to talk about on this case. But we promise
Yeah.
that we'd only be here for an hour. And I think we have given enough for Guyanese to become outraged,
Yeah.
to become
And
outraged, and to
yeah,
speak out.
yes, there are comments to the effect of people saying that in 2020, what they call the small parties, ANOG and others, were on all ballots. Those did not contest in all regions. So that's something that I would we would investigate. And once it is made clear, this there's even more trouble in the water now. So we'll examine the same. But I am always grateful for the moment and the time we spent sitting before this nation. Those
Mhm.
in the diaspora who rely on us for sensible, valuable, rational information. I'm pleased that the very beginning of this discourse, in which we focus on the cost factor and the punishment imposed on Crystal Fisher. I think that lays a solid foundation for us to speak to the other aspects, because it comes down to, if I ask the question, you punish me with a financial burden, then you're telling all Guyanese that don't come before me, as you rightly said, or I'm going to deal with you unless you're somebody that I favor. And that doesn't work well for us as Guyanese people. So my sister, I'm grateful for the investment of your time and the responsible nature of, we haven't Parliament hasn't been convened and you're already functioning in that capacity. I'm speaking to the rights of all Guyanese, not just Crystal Fisher or somebody from Fort Ghana movement. All are
You have
consumed.
you have to speak. All, because all are involved and all are consumed. This country is ours to build, and we can't. I keep saying, Nigeria, my favorite thing is you can't outsource the struggle. You cannot outsource the struggle. You and I am deeply concerned with when you look back, how does history treat you? As
Yes.
somebody who cowered or as
Mm.
somebody who stood for something? Because when we're gone, that's all we have. How are we? How are we remembered? We remembered for being a fighter or being a coward. Did we speak up when it mattered? Did the Guyana that I will leave to my children, how does that look? And how did I play a role in making it better? And I always say, if you believe that Guyana cannot lose her way, look at Venezuela, the
That's
sixth
right.
richest country in the world at one time.
Hmm.
And now they have a refugee crisis like no other. And the cautionary tales. Look at Ghana and the struggle that it is now in because they thought that they were infallible.
Hmm.
There is none who is
Wow.
as blind as he who would not see. Not he
Would
who
not
can't
see.
see, but who would not see. And if we're going to make sure that we anchor this nation, these are the conversations that we're going to have to have. We're going to have
Yeah.
to put away the song and the dance. We're going to have to ignore the petty noise and foolishness and focus on the things that will matter 30, 40, 50 years from now.
Most
So
definitely.
thank you for having me.
Thank
Always
you. And Sudi, we normally thought, but we can do a cyber space dab.
All right, blessings.
Do well.
Blessings.
Blessings.
With
Bye.
vision
All
in
right.
our eyes, no more waiting, no more fear. We're the voices they will hear. We're standing up, we're moving fast. A brighter day is here at last. Are you ready to move this nation? We are ready to move forward. We are ready to stand proud. We are ready to fight for justice, to rise above the